Chapter 9. A few minutes later, Lisa grabbed my arm and pointed. There he is. See him? In the field. At the sound of Lisa's voice, Georgie turned and looked back at us. In his loincloth and war paint, his hair matted with burrs and feathers, he really did look like a wild creature, small and fierce among the towering goldenrod and thistles. Georgie, I cried. Georgie! Instead of answering, he ran toward the shelter of the trees. Come back, I shouted. Don't run off. Traitor, he screamed over his shoulder. Liar! With Lisa at my heels, I chased Georgie across the field and into the woods. He ducked and dodged under vines and around trees, flashing in and out of sunlight, his war paint blending into the woods like camouflage. At last I caught him and pinned him against a tree, holding him fast. Will you please listen to me? I shouted. It's okay to be friends with Lisa. She won't tell anyone about us. She promised. Your parents will never know you broke the rules, Lisa added. Georgie frowned at me, obviously puzzled. Our parents? What do they... With my back to Lisa, I pressed one finger to my lips, warning him. It's okay. We can trust her. Honest. I felt Georgie's body relax a little. His breathing slowly returned to normal, but he was still clearly upset. Let me go, he grumbled. I stepped back and dropped my hands to my side. He and Lisa studied each other silently for several moments, as if neither was sure what to make of the other. Lisa spoke first, a little hesitantly. I know you're mad at Diana and me, she said, but can't we be friends, Georgie? He scowled. I don't need friends, and neither does Diana. We have each other. Don't be rude. My fingers ached to pinch him, but I knew that would only make him madder. He gave me a nasty look and began stripping leaves from a spindly little bush. The feathers in his hair quivered. If you want to be her friend, he muttered, go right ahead. Get in trouble. See if I care. But you can't make me be friends with her. He's had a bad temper, I told Lisa, from the very day he was born. I'd heard Mother laugh about Georgie's rages, but I never found them particularly amusing. Now I was downright embarrassed. Foolish as it sounded, I'd actually hoped he'd like Lisa. She's letting us keep Lassie till I finish reading it to you, I told Georgie, thinking he might be pleased. I hate that book. He yanked more leaves from the bush. Give it back to her. Georgie. He threw a shower of leaves at me. She can have her ugly bear, too. Georgie finally made Lisa mad. Fine, she yelled. Give me my things right now. If you don't, I'll tell my father who stole them. See, Diana? I warned you not to trust her, Georgie cried in triumphant. She's a liar. Lisa backed away from us, her hand covering her mouth as if she wanted to unsay what she'd just said. I didn't mean it. I won't tell Dad, honest. She began to cry. Just give me my bear, please. Georgie, I said softly. Lisa's mother gave her that bear before she died. It's very special to her. Big crybaby. I said she can have it, didn't I? He turned and ran into the woods. Wait right there. I'll get her stuff. Lisa and I sat on a fallen tree and listened to Georgie crash off through the underbrush. A breeze sprang up and tugged more leaves from the trees. They pattered down around us like raindrops. I'm sorry, Lisa wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I was trying so hard to be nice. I thought he'd be nice too, but when he wasn't, I got mad. It's all right, but I wasn't sure it really was. What if something made Lisa mad again? Would she tell her father, after all? But how could I send her away? Lisa was my friend now. It was so nice to sit beside her with the leaves drifting down around us. There had to be a way to make things right between her and my brother. After a few minutes, Georgie returned, more quietly than he'd left. Nero stalked beside him, his head and tail high as if he'd chosen sides. Oh, Lisa said, it's Aladdin, the black cat Macduff chased up the tree. Is he yours? Yes, Georgie said, and his name is Nero, not Aladdin. With a scowl, he thrust the bear at Lisa. Here, now go away and leave us alone. Diana and I don't need you hanging around all the time. Lisa cradled the bear in her arms. He's dirty, she said. You got him dirty. Georgie shoved the book at her. Take boring old lassie, too. He turned to me. Let's go, Diana. I'm walking Lisa home, I said. You can come with us if you want. He stared at me in disbelief. You really are a traitor, he said coldly. Something terrible is going to happen. Can't you feel it coming? And it will be your fault, Diana. Yours and hers. Don't be silly. Even as I tried to stare Georgie down, I remembered those sounds in the front parlor again, the little rustlings and whisperings behind the closed door. Despite myself, I shivered. Lisa touched my arm. What's he talking about? Nothing, I said quickly. He's just trying to scare me, that's all. Georgie strode away, and Nero followed him, one as silent as the other. It'll be dark soon, I said to Lisa. Your father will be looking for you. I walked back to the trailer with her. Although the sun had barely set, light shone from the kitchen window, and I smelled food cooking. Mr. Morrison looked out and saw us. Glad you're home, he called. It's supper time. How about staying and eating with us, Diana? No, thank you. My parents are expecting me. I was grateful for the excuse Lisa had given me. Those strict parents of mine would never allow me to accept dinner invitations. Before she went inside, Lisa said, Meet me at the terrace tomorrow. I have lessons till noon, but after that, I'm free. It made me happy that Lisa wanted to see me, but I dreaded going to the terrace again. I had risked it this afternoon and nothing had happened, but maybe I shouldn't take the chance again. Why can't we just meet here? I asked her. Oh, come on, Diana. Lisa gave my braid a playful tug. Your parents will never know you went near the house. I'll see you there at 2, okay? Without waiting for an answer, she ran up the steps. The door banged shut behind her, and Macduff barked once. A kind of greeting. Without Lisa, the evening was empty, the dusk damp and cold. I lingered in the shadows by the window and watched Lisa and her dad move around the kitchen, laughing and talking. I wished I were inside with them, helping set the table, joining in their conversation, sitting down with them in the lamplight. The aroma of tomato sauce drifted outside, rich with oregano and garlic. I breathed in deeply, almost tasting it. Most of the time I was happy not to have to bother with food, but tonight I hungered for a mouthful of pasta, steaming hot, drowned in sauce, dusted with Parmesan. Sadly, I turned my back on the steamy kitchen window and trudged across the field toward the woods. Crickets chirped in the weeds. Every night there were fewer of them. Winter was coming. We'd already had frost. Soon their voices would be silenced. It was a sad time of year. A fox barked nearby. The vixen, I supposed, warning the kids I was coming. The albino deer leapt into the woods ahead of me, his antlered head high. The does followed, their necks extended, their tails white flags in the darkness. By the time I reached the shed, Georgie was already asleep, burrowed deep under his blankets. Nero beside him. All I could see of my brother were the feathers stuck in his hair. I took off my clean clothes and folded them neatly, something I hadn't done for years. I pulled one of Miss Lillian's flannel nightgowns over my head and slid quietly under the covers. I was tempted to wake Georgie and try to explain about Lisa and me, but I doubted it would help. My brother swung between moods like a man on a trapeze. Now up, now down, now here, now there. Whether I apologized or not, he'd get over his anger. He always did. This time it might take a little longer than usual. I never betrayed him before. Hours passed. Georgie slept deeply, undisturbed by bad dreams, and no need of comforting. I lay beside him, plagued with worries and doubts. Maybe Lisa was awake too. I pictured her in bed, reading Lassie Come Home, her little bear tucked in safely beside her, so cozy, so comfortable in her room. She had no idea how fragile everything was, how easily it vanished just when you thought it was yours forever. I cried then, cried for my old life, my parents, our warm, snug house. Cried for Georgie sleeping beside me, with feathers in his hair, growing wilder every year. Okay, and this is an excerpt from the Diary of Lisa Morrison. And remember, she calls her diary Dee Dee. Dear Dee Dee, Today I met Diana, the girl who scared me so badly yesterday. And guess what? She's not a monster after all. Here's how I found out. She came to my room last night and stole, or as she says, borrowed, this diary. She read what I'd written to you about her, and it hurt her feelings. Well, that's the risk you take when you snoop into someone else's private thoughts, but it turned out for the best. She cleaned herself up and wrote a note in my diary. Would I meet her on the terrace of the old house? I was kind of scared, so I took Macduff, and there she was, waiting on the lion bench like a princess. Since she's promised never to read another word I write to you, Dee Dee, I will tell you what I think of Diana, and I hope she keeps her word and doesn't borrow my diary again. She's pretty, but her clothes are strange and old-fashioned, and she has no shoes. Not one pair. She says she doesn't need them, not even in the winter, because her feet are tough. Her hair is so blonde it's silvery white, and she wears it in a long, thick braid hanging down below her waist. Dad told her she reminded him of Rapunzel. For once, he's exactly right. Diana's just the sort of girl you might read about in a book written a long time ago. A princess under a spell, maybe. All she needs is a garland of flowers in her hair. It's as if she's not living in the same world as most people. You have to call her back sometimes, otherwise she'll drift away into the woods and disappear. Do you know what I mean, Dee Dee? It's so hard to put things in words. It's not just her looks that make her different from anyone I know. It's also the things she says. For example, Roy Rogers is her favorite movie star. All I know about him is the fast food chain. At dinner, I asked Dad if he ever heard of Roy Rogers, the movie star. Dad said he was famous from way back when, not in his time, but his parents' time. His mom, my grandmother, had an autographed picture of Roy and Trigger she'd kept since she was a little girl. It wasn't autographed by Roy himself, Dad said, but by someone else, maybe his secretary. Wouldn't that be a fun job, signing movie star pictures? But how would Diana know about those old Western movies? I asked. Dad said, well, if her parents are as strict as she says, maybe they don't let her and Georgie watch new movies. Maybe they have lots of videos of old Westerns, the kind with no cussing or sex or violence. Just Roy Rogers singing and chasing bad guys wearing black hats. Dad thinks Diana's sweet and pretty and shy, a very nice girl, but, like me, he doesn't especially care for her brother, Georgie. Way too sassy, with those feathers stuck in his hair and smeared over with clay like war paint. I'll tell you more about him later. Dad got on my nerves when he started asking questions about Diana and Georgie's parents. He was so nosy. What do they do for a living? Why do they homeschool their kids? How come they allow them to play on the farm? Don't they worry about them? And so on. I said I don't know much about Diana's parents, except that they're very strict. I didn't mention the religious cult. He'd probably ask Diana about it, and she'd know I'd talked to him about her. Now for more about Georgie. He gave me back my book and my bear. Poor Tedward, I had to wash him and brush him to make him pretty again. But when he gave it back to me, he was very nasty about it. You'd think I was the one who'd stolen them from him. My bike is wrecked, though. They hid it in the woods. I doubt I'll ever see it again, which makes me mad. It was a really good bike. Tomorrow, Diana and I are meeting at the old house. She didn't want to because her parents don't allow her to play there. I'm not supposed to go there either, but I know Dad won't punish me if I do. Diana says she'd never go in the old house, but that's all I think about. I want to know what it's like inside. Maybe because it's so big and dark and empty. A presence, you could say, like a haunted house in a story. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the old Willis place right now. I can see it from my window. The moon is shining down on it, bright as day. I'm sure Miss Willis is in there, roaming around from room to room. Sometimes I think she knows I'm here, and she's waiting for me to pay her a visit. She wants me to come, Dee Dee. I can almost hear her calling me. Ooh, I'm giving myself goosebumps. Maybe Dad's right about my imagination. I'm so silly. What will I dream up next? If you promise not to tell anyone, Dee Dee, I'll let you in on a secret plan. Dad's going to Home Depot tomorrow to buy stuff to fix the plumbing, and maybe some paint. Nothing interesting. He loves hardware stores, and he always spends hours looking at stuff. He'll be gone a long time. I know where he keeps the keys to the house. Guess what I plan to do while Dad's out? Now, I'm going to sleep, dear Dee Dee, and so are you. Good night. Love, Lisa. P.S. I'll tell you all about the house tomorrow night. End of chapter 9. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Toast.